All right, we're back. We're back on another Shorty episode. If you haven't watched the last ones, check them out. There's been 3 so far. So this is the build we're doing for Shorty, quadriplegic down in Sydney, and we're putting his dream rig together. Now, if you want to help him out, we've also got that limited edition sticker where 100% of those profits will be going to Guy when we hand this car over to him. This episode, I promise we will get the thing started. There's a few things to finish off. What I'm going to be doing now is the radiator. So I've got a solid big alley radiator, but there's just a little bit of alignment issue on the bottom end, so I'm going to cut the mounts off the bottom and shift them about 15 mil, so this thing will go straight in. Monique's going to go get a bunch of fluids in that so we can get all the oils in, all the fluids, power steering, coolant, and once that's done, a couple more wiring bits to finish off, and then we should be able to fire this thing up. So let's rip into it and see where we're up to. Alrighty, I've really had bugger all experience welding with Ali, but from what I've learned, you've got to keep it really clean. And to be honest, it's joint, that's all we need. The weight is going to be down on this, so it's not like it's flipped over, so it's not really a structural thing, it's more of a placement thing. So hopefully now it'll get that radiator away from the front. It was slightly just hitting the front of the cross member there. So once we get this in, we can finalize the hoses, get some fluid in it, and we're one step closer to firing this thing up. But it's only a Chinese radiator, should be right. But obviously being the LS, we do want to have a little bit more cooling than usual. So it's a bit thicker, I think it's like a 56 mil. So hopefully sorts out cooling issues.
Okay. How good does the grill look? I just put the lights in and they work. How good's that? I just went to the shop and got a whole heap of fluids and hoses and stuff like that to put all the fluids in and do a bit of a service. Wham, 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 wham. That's how it's gonna go. So, I got some hoses. Useless. I had to get an AU Falcon hose to fit a Holden motor and a GQ radiator, and I made it work. But it took me the entire day. I feel like I've wasted a day. But we got something done. It took me forever. I had to cut it in half and then get a piece of aluminium for the center and then hose clamp and make sure it still fits. But it freaking fits.
This was my face this morning when I checked the mailbox. It's here, finally! The starter motor, the one piece we've been waiting for. Perfectly gift wrapped in this 4D fit. Have you seen that TikTok? No, well, I'll have to show you.
The boy is gift wrapped in my 4D fit.
All right, so we're gonna whack the starter motor in. I think that's the last thing. I know we are waiting on O2 sensor adapters, extensions, but the motors can run without that. So I think we just put it in and fire it up. I've got, yeah, let's do that. I'll tell you more about it later. Alrighty, I think this is it. This is time. What I've done, the starter motor's in. I've hooked up an OBD scanner so I can see like the essentials. Oil pressure, coolant temperature. I've made sure it's not in gear, put it in park, that's crucial because there's a tail shaft flapping there. I think essentially we're going to try and start it. Now, Monique's obviously put in some fluids, oil's pretty good, water, we've just put normal water in there for now, make sure there's no leaks, and then we add proper coolant. Transmission has what's in there, but we need to set that while the car's running. So I'm going to set this, get all the gauges we need, and then fire it up. I think we need Monique here actually as well. She's been building this car too, I don't know where she is. Monique! Hello, look for leaks. We're gonna try this bitch. I guess we just try. I Okay. Wait, fuel pump's not making a noise. That's good. Yeah, I know, for a fact we've got the wrong map sensor, pressure sensor, because this is off the supercharged thing. Yeah, righto, there's a few things it could be, but it runs. It's running, it's fine, it's got timing, all that's good. I need to add in a brake switch to make that throttle work properly. We need to change well, let's be honest, this ECU that I've got here is off my old motor, which is supercharged. It's got a different map sensor and completely well, it's not the wrong engine, but it's completely the wrong tune for this motor. If I use Guy's ECU, it's got the VATS, which is the vehicle anti-theft system, which means it won't let it run until it's tuned. So I need to tune now, get that throttle working. I think we can move forward, but I call that a success. I mean, I did say we're gonna start it in this episode and it kind of runs. We'll give it one more go. Yay! Good enough. Alrighty guys, it is time. I need to draw the winner from last week's giveaway. Before we do that, we have some news. The Sydney 4x4 Outdoor Show is happening this weekend. I think as you're watching this, it is happening on the 14th to the 16th, and it'll be at the Sydney Showgrounds. Now, what's gonna be there will be this Shorty. So the Shorty will be finished-ish at the Sydney Show, and also the 80 series. Now, if you're watching my Instagram, we just painted that thing a new color. So if you wanna see the 80 with its fresh paint job and the Shorty, they'll be at the Sydney 4 Drive Show. Now, if you wanna get tickets, use code BNB, and I'll put a link down below if you wanna save 15%. So the giveaway that we had last week was for the Pit Vipers. So let's pick a winner. Get this going. We had, basically you just have to leave a comment. That was the requirements. So we have Dean, Pit Vipers to suit my 80 era Toyotas, time to plan a trip. So, perfect Dean Johnson. If you wanna send me a message on Instagram, or I'll apply your comment on the video as well. Now we do have another giveaway this week, and it is for a Max Trax recovery kit. So that's up for grabs, same deal. Leave a comment down below and let me know, would you prefer a Shorty after watching the short wheelbase build, or just a normal wagon? Do you like the look of the Shorties? Do you think they're impractical for having stuff inside, or would you prefer a full-size wagon? Comment down below and I'll be picking a winner next week for that Max Trax recovery kit. Anyway, back to the episode. Alrighty, so that kind of worked. What I did do is try the original ECU, as I thought it wouldn't even try and fire because of that vehicle anti-theft system. So we're just gonna keep ticking along, probably get Shano out here from ProCheck just to run the tune through it, or take the ECU down to him, get it sorted. What I'm doing now, I've got some photos I sent myself. This is the harness for the transmission. Now, if you're doing an automatic LS swap, you can run just a standard manual harness. There's a gearbox. It's pretty simple. What it's got on here is 12-volt battery, constant power, ignition, ground, park neutral sensor, and then your CAN bus, which is just this twisty wire here. So I've actually found, I'll put it up on the screen if you do need it. Basically a standalone harness diagram which tells you what colors match up with what, basically. It's pretty simple. I mean, off the top of your head, pink's always going to be ignition, red's your power, black's your ground, park neutral's either purple or blue usually, and then your CAN bus is always going to be that tan black twisted wire. So wire all this up and that should be gearbox done.
Thank you. No, it's not for you. They gave me the wrong one. I wanted a little one. Got a ham and cheese.
The next day.
Transmission's wired, I finished the ECU wiring. There's like a couple left to do for the park neutral switch, so that's a problem for another day. We'll sort out that selector. We're revisiting this. Now this roof lining we put in is the only thing stopping us finishing the interior, and I have a mate who is really good at interior work, but he's so busy. Because he's so good, he just cannot get 2 seconds to come around and put this in for us. So I'm gonna give it a crack. Nick had it in a couple of weeks ago, and I'm just worried about gluing it, because when you glue it, if it comes loose, the last thing you want is like a saggy roof lining. But we're gonna give it a crack. I would have given it a crack because it's got a sunroof. They didn't make a roof lining for a sunroof model. So we need to like cut the hole, and it just get a little bit complicated, but we're gonna give it a crack. It's pretty simple, get the first wire things in. Now the company that supplied this roof lining also gave instructions. So you pull it to the front first, then the back, and then the sides. So we're gonna give it a crack and see how it ends up. So sorry guy if this just falls on your head one day, but we gave it a crack. Say it again. I don't know if she wants me to say it again. I was saying Monique used to work in a trim shop, so she's got the most experience. Oh my God, it is time to do the dreaded sunroof. So, oh dear God. Okay, so we got this sort of situation going on. We have enough material to wrap it around and it should basically glue to this pinch here. Now I want to get the tension right to make that all nice and not wrinkly. The other thing is Ryan is literally on his way here to put all the windscreen and windows in, so we kind of got to get this glued so he can finish that off.
A few moments later.
I was just speaking to the devils and Ryan's rocked up. The local guys are here. Glass is going in, we'll whack some tint on for Guy as well. Sunroof's the mish at the moment. We're half doing that, but new windscreen's going in, new rubbers, all tinted up. Then we can pretty much smash the whole interior together. I'm gonna get Monique to go through, put all the plastics in. Earlier she painted everything black because we got that black roof lining, got the tin, blacked out all the interior apart from the dash, which is still grey, but it just should help clean it up and make it nice, especially with that carpet as well that we've got, it's black. Alrighty, the glass is in. How bloody good does it look? Big shout out to Ryan for squeezing that in. I know he's flat out at the moment, but that isn't the most exciting thing. Yesterday, I picked up the ECU from Shane from ProCheck. Check this out. It runs! It does run. Just need a little bit of throttle. How good is that? So we finally got the thing running, but you hear that little rattle? This has been baffling me for a while, so there's this weird knock in there, but what we do, if we tension up the tensioner a little bit more, it goes away. If you've got any idea what that is, please comment down below, because I have no idea. It's super strange. We've checked every bearing, every pulley, super weird. Anyway, she runs. That must be worth a like and subscribe. So do make sure to subscribe to the channel, guys, if you want more of this content. Now, I'll also remind you, while you're down there, we do have the sticker for Guy. So when we hand this car over to him, we're gonna give him a bit of cash as well to help him out get on a trip. So 100% of the profits from the sticker to Guy will be linked down below. Go grab one to support him. So what we're doing now that it's running, we need to get it on the ground. Flashback to when I saw the out of service tag on this. So this is news to me. I bloody out of service tag on a Patrol says, diff center broken. Left wheel bearing was seized from sitting so long. Oh, there's dirt in there. So now I've got a big old nut to get that off. Yeah, we did have to replace the bearing. We've pressed a new one on. So we are waiting on the rear locker. Guy isn't able to get that to us in time. So we're gonna whack the standard center back in there for now, put the diff together so we can get it on the ground, get the brakes bled and actually drive this thing and see if it runs good. So let's smash it together, see how we're looking.
Okay, while Sam's been playing with the diff, a couple weeks ago I painted the interior parts and well, I had them all really nice and then last week Sam's just covered them all in dust. So I've just cleaned them up and they've all got to go from here into there and that's going to be my job for the moment. We'll see if I can remember where they go.
Okay, so you wouldn't bloody read about it, but the full or most of the interior pieces don't actually fit this car. And like I said at the start of this build, it's because we got it from someone else. We should have pre-fitted it. So Monique's painted all the plastics and they're actually off something else. We have no idea, but that does not go on a Shorty. So we're hunting around for some new interior parts. For the time being, I've got a radio from GME. Now, this was actually supplied when we got the car, which is pretty sweet. He's gone for one of the best units. This is the value pack. So I'll be whacking that on to get that sorted. Like, I want to finish all the electrics. So I've got a dual battery box coming, get that radio mounted, run some wires through for an inverter for him to use on his crane lift for the wheelchair. What else? Oh, wheels. I've been trying to get the wheels that Guy really wants. Now they're a method wheel, but I'm still waiting to hear back from them to see if we can get a supply for that because they're pretty hard to get hold of. So in the meantime, I'm gonna put on the rims from My Patrol, some new tires, and use that for the show as a bit of a temporary wheel until hopefully we can get those ones that he wants. They're like a black beadlock, they look sick. So we'll rip the ones off the Patrol, get this thing on the ground. I really want to get it on the ground so we can finish off the suspension, set the leveling, get those sensors on for the airbag kit, and then we can start rolling this thing around, make sure the gearbox works, all that kind of stuff. Alrighty, the next mission, we're still waiting on tires to get this thing on the ground so we can sort out the airbags. So we're gonna move on to another little project that's gonna be a pain in my ass, I can tell already. We're gonna keep the factory shifter. It's auto, which is a good start out of a GQ, but we need to get the shifter linkage to work with the LS gearbox. It's a 4L60E. For a start, it's on the wrong side, so I'm thinking of cutting, welding, flipping this over. We're gonna make sure we keep clearance for the low range stick, but basically run a rod through. And I've done this a few times, and you probably hear me talk about it. It's really tricky to get the exact sweep right. Like the gap between park and reverse might be different to the distance it needs to click on the gearbox, if you understand. So it's all about a bit of maths, getting the angles right to make sure it gets through all the gears properly and doesn't sit in between drive and neutral because it's bad for your gearbox. So we'll be screwing around on that a little bit, try and get some shots, and hopefully it'll just go in and work. Alrighty, well, we have a shifter. Dad has pretty much got it working, a little bit more tweaking, but it does go into reverse, does go into drive, it does move, but the tires still haven't rocked up. So next week's episode, 3 things are happening. We're going to get it on the ground and moving. Number 2, it will be going to the Sydney show on display. We'll try and get some shots of that down at the show. And number 3, we will be handing it over to Guy next week too. So jump on the next episode of the Shorty build. We hand the car over to Guy, then it goes to another mechanic to get all his steering controls and a few things finished off. And then we'll try and get out for a trip with him once it's done, or maybe send him up this way, get him up to Fraser or something. So stick around for next week. If not, we'll see you at the Sydney show. Come and see this thing in person, and we'll see you in the next episode. Thanks for watching.